Fulton's orders. We gotta install these limpet locks on every door. Nothing's getting through these.
Arkham Shadow came at maybe the worst time it possibly could have. Not only had the last title in the franchise, Arkham Knight, come nearly a decade earlier, but many fans had been rather underwhelmed and its PC port had been famously disastrous. Franchise creator Rocksteady Studios had just released Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, a spin-off title that came with its own massive controversy due to a genre shift into a live service model that seemed doomed to fail right from the jump and ended support not even a year later. The previous Arkham VR title had been a poorly received tech demo, and to top it all off, this new game was not only a VR exclusive, already a hard sell, but would be releasing even more exclusively on Meta's brand new, much more expensive than its predecessor Quest 3 headset. The deck was about as stacked against this title as it could have been, and yet Arkham Shadow completely blew me away almost right from the jump.
These riot control spikes were in the floor last time.
Taking place between Arkham Origins and Arkham Asylum, Shadow tells a more small-scale story about the titular hero the week of Gotham's annual 4th of July blowout. The introduction segment sees Batman lurking through a small Gotham highlight reel as he begins to track down the Rat King, a new villainous kingpin threatening to bring the city's justice system to its knees while introducing players to combat and exploration. Combat is the element of the game that had players the most skeptical, but is also the first and clearest strength of Arkham Shadow beyond its narrative. If you've never played a non-VR Arkham title, each fight revolves around a flow state that has the player alternating between attacking and intercepting incoming enemy strikes. Keeping your combo going will build up Batman's momentum and give access to special abilities, but the core remains the reflex-heavy action that forces you to consider the entire fight at once. Getting hit will break your combo after all. Arkham Shadow adapts this flawlessly into VR, turning each fight into an exhilarating workout for your entire body. Obviously, the perspective has changed from third to first person, and the big challenge is maintaining the notion of keeping your eye out for enemies beyond the one you're presently engaging with. You'll be aiming your fists at one foe at a time, the game prompting you to hit them in specific areas, totally dodging the frequent virtual reality issue of hitbox wonkiness, but anyone in your field of view who is about to strike themselves can be intercepted to keep the combo meter going. Most ingeniously, though, is the manner in which you get to keep tabs on people you're not looking at. You'll get an on-screen warning with a corresponding direction if someone to your side is about to hit you, and this gives you the chance to counter their strike without even looking at them and move to follow up automatically. Words can't really express what a badass this made me feel like every time I pulled it off. It got to a point where I wasn't even frustrated that I couldn't finish someone off before moving on, because keeping up the counterattacks was so much fun in and of itself. As you get further in, you'll encounter foes that need more consideration than the basic mooks. Going in headfirst against more than one firearm-toting crook is generally a bad idea, but the franchise staple of stealthing your way through a room and picking them off individually is also somewhat preserved here. Arkham Shadow even goes the extra mile for accessibility and quality of life here. Anytime you have to swing across a room, you'll have the option to recenter the camera with one button press, so you don't have to pivot your body in strange ways and risk escaping your set guardian boundary. Also interrupting the typical flow are enemies that are large enough that you'll need to stun them by flinging your cape in order to leave them open to attack, yet another element that really sells the roleplay of Shadow. With the additions of smoke bombs and batarangs, it really feels like you have access to the entire Bat arsenal while suited up, and it all feels as easy to use as it would for Bruce himself. The other major aspect of the game, as in the other Arkham titles, lies in exploration with puzzle solving. You get several tools that help to capture the same feeling as you would in the two-dimensional game. Detective mode highlights important environmental details and helps you scope out fights before you start them, and proves just as useful as it does in the rest of the series. I want to genuinely highlight the way you activate detective mode, by touching the side of your head just like Batman activating his cowl. I gasped when I realized how cool this simple prompt felt, and it never got old. Side note, a VR 007 game could go so hard. You also have a grappling hook that can allow you to easily skip ladders and reach higher ground, and the ability to lift Batman's cape to glide across distances or safely travel downward. It's a usable but not overwhelming amount of maneuverability that takes the format properly into account. With the player's perspective being used for the Dark Knight and also being limited by your play space, it makes sense for it to be a more contained experience than the console entries. That's not to say the game has you walking or swinging right from fight to fight though. Just like the others, this one has you scouring the environment for extra goodies, and the environments quickly become a highlight. I noticed pretty quickly that I was motivated to actually read newspapers simply because I could actually pick them up and hold them close, instead of just pressing a button prompt to make a text box appear on the screen. You'll also be on the hunt for puzzles, both of the logic and platforming kind, that will lead you to extra destructible collectibles, and breaking things in VR is always a fun time. The narrative sees Bruce getting to interact with his usual stable of bad guys from a new perspective, which I don't want to spoil too much, but it does a lot to properly connect Arkham Origins to the original Arkham Asylum, while also not feeling too much like a repeat of Asylum's setting. Where we largely only saw Arkham Asylum after it's already been taken down by Joker and his crew, Blackgate is still a functioning prison being undermined from within, and it feels much less like a theme park than the first game's level design. The grounded environments are much more at home in a first-person perspective than the dimly lit dark rides from the previous titles, and even if it looks more plain, I think it was a solid choice. The game does also offer the combat and predator challenge rooms as the other games do, and these are fun score attack modes, with more having been added in post-launch updates, but in my opinion don't add greatly to the experience unless you're really itching to crack some extra skulls. The Predator rooms highlight my only real flaw of the game, which is that I don't really feel like the Predator scenarios set the player up for success in the way the main series games usually do. It's extremely difficult to not get caught, likely blowing your no shots fired bonus experience, and enemies tend to stick together to the point where stealthing your way through and picking them off as you're meant to is not as easy as it would be in other titles. There are gadget upgrades that can help with this, but I think some additional environmental design could have also helped. Extra things I could throw my battering at to cause distractions or cause the enemies to split up would have made things a lot more satisfying. That being said, it's not like these tend to be unwinnable if you're just quick enough to take people out or strike them before fleeing away from incoming fire, so it's not a huge downside when the rest of the game sells the fantasy so well. Batman Arkham Shadow is, perhaps unsurprisingly, a great game that benefits hugely from the platform that publisher Meta has given it. I expected to enjoy it like many other VR titles I've played, but I don't know that I was expecting it to be on a similar level to something like Half-Life Alyx. But that's where it ends up, and I became convinced of that very quickly after the game started. I can't think of any other game that has genuinely made me feel so much like a superhero, and it's a win that the DC side of the Heroverse has sorely needed. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to covertly slip out the nearest window. The night is calling. Noisy Pixel is giving Batman Arkham Shadow a 9 out of 10. Thanks for watching. This video is brought to you by our supporters on Patreon. Noisy Pixel is run by a group of gamers providing independent gaming coverage through news, reviews, previews, and more. Check out our Patreon to help support our continued growth and subscribe to keep up with all of our future content.
Noisy Pixel.